Good morning. I'm Stephanie. I'm alcoholic, and I have been through the Big Book Step Study process with the help of a higher power that has loved me intensely, a wonderful and supportive sponsor, lots of these meetings, listening to so many of you, and I am working on making my amends, and I attempt to work 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis to the best of my ability. And I'm so grateful. I can't even tell you. I have like tears in my eyes because I just keep reflecting over where I was. I was talking to Denise. First time I came to this meeting was when it was at St. Bernard's in that little tiny room. Some of you were there, not all of you, but it was a little tiny room, and we grew and grew and grew until we couldn't fit in that little room anymore. Denise was pregnant with her youngest child, and she still looks as young as she did then. Her hair is just a little more gray. And I had no idea what I was doing at this AA meeting. I had joined another fellowship and was trying to conquer another, for me, aspect of this disease. And my sponsor had told me to find a Big Book Step Study meeting, and this was the one I found. And what was really funny was I kept coming and I kept saying, you people knew more about me than I knew. I'd hear you talk about things that I felt that I had experienced, and I thought, but why am I here at this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting? And I can tell you, for me, that strange mental twist is this. Something's wrong with me. I don't know how to live life. Life is unmanageable. And when I get to that point and I can't stand it anymore, I can't live in my skin without something else coming between me and life. And that was me from the time I was very, very young. And I used all kinds of things throughout my life. Some of them not so destructive, some of them more destructive. I didn't start using drugs or alcohol until I went away to college, because I had self-knowledge. I'm a legacy here. My grandfather, who I am so proud of, and I hope I can channel some of who he was in AA at the very early points of AA. And one of the things I heard about him after he died, a minister came to my grandmother's kitchen and said, we're going to miss Lyndon. He was one of our best 12-steppers. And that's one of the most prized moments I have, is to know that that's what his life was about, that somebody saw him as a person who really cared and could help other alcoholics. These stories, they're my relatives. I'm not kidding you. It is so amazing. The car salesman, Jim, that's my Uncle Mac. He had a Buick car dealership, brilliant man, had a fabulous family, everything going for him. He ended up committing suicide. That was my self-knowledge. I had another uncle who never left the home. My grandfather that was in AA never left the home because he couldn't live independently, because he was a binge drinker. He would go for months without drinking, and then he'd start and lose his car, and it was an embarrassment, and people had to go find him, and he was in and out of a institution. So I had all this self-knowledge, you see. I had watched all this, and I wasn't going to be an alcoholic. I wasn't going to mess my life up like this. So I went through high school, and I was, no. I thought I could control all this, but you see, the whole thing was I was using other things. I was trying to be an overachiever. I was trying to be the perfect girl. Getting into the right college, doing the right things. And all of these things that I tried to build myself up to feel better, I still felt like a piece of crap. I still didn't feel good enough, no matter what I did. And in this first part where it talks about I didn't want to accept that I was bodily and mentally different from my fellows. Countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like others. Well, let me tell you, my first experience, never had a drink in my life. Went to a party. I had this girlfriend who, was at college who had a long drinking history, and I knew nothing about it. And I forgot to say, in my home there was no alcohol because both of my parents were afraid of alcohol. So I'm a legacy. Everything I have, I built on craziness. I didn't have healthy role models to show me how I could cope with my thinking. And, I will allude to the fact that one of my other addictions is food. And my parents used to call me a foodaholic. They didn't know anything about, that this could be, but that's how I ate like an alcoholic, drinks. So anyway, I went off to this party, and this girl, poured a drink and got herself something, and I followed behind her. Well, I follow this philosophy, which again, I have an aunt who was an alcoholic, and we always laughed about this, but this is the truth. This is one of the maxims I lived with. If some is good, a lot is better. So I went back again, and I went back again. I don't even know, I can't tell you how much I actually drank, but I was so sick. I didn't have any fun at the party because I was in the bathroom throwing up. Now, I said, that's it. So, I'm not going to drink alcohol. What do you think I'm going to do now? Drugs. Drugs are safe, right? You don't throw up with that. Paranoia? Oh, yeah. I lived like that. Oh, my God. Insanity. And the best thing I loved was speed. Let me get some speed in me, because I'm in control. And that was one of the other pieces of my disease, was that need for control. Always wanting to be in control. Always wanting. And then the other thing is great. To help an alcoholic, that you don't want to face yourself, that you're not one of those people. Hang around with people who do more than you do. Oh, look at what they're doing. Oh my goodness, I don't do that. I married 2 alcoholics. Well, I'm not look at what, I'm not an alcoholic. They've got the problem, not me. And let me help you with that problem. Let me tell you, because I know all about this disease. I know a lot about this disease. And it was always, always there in my life. And, I can tell you when I drank, there were times when I didn't get into big trouble, but generally, there was some kind of trouble. Having a small party at my house when my parents left me for a vacation, when I was a teenager, ended up in this great big party with people, all over my house, people I didn't know, breaking things, destroying the house. The next day, friends coming over trying to help me to put the house back together. That's not a problem, is it? The fact that I was throwing up and they didn't know half of what was going on in the house, that's not a problem, is it? Have a fight with my husband. Solution. He runs out, he's had it, so I go buy a 6-pack of beer and, consume that quickly. Because I don't want to feel anything or think anything. It's all done, right? But he's the one who has the problem, not me. I could just keep going and tell you the unmanageability. And when I started to read these stories, the first story that I really identified with was the jaywalker. Because that insanity of knowing that you're going to get hit by a car and you keep doing it. Anybody with a logic, I thought I knew so much about alcoholism. I read Bill W.'s story when I was a teenager. I knew now. I knew. I understood this disease completely. And I wasn't going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to guarantee you, I was not going to be an alcoholic. No matter how much I tried to control or change the way I think or felt, I couldn't do it. Everybody else's life worked out okay, but mine didn't. How did they know how to do it? They got all the breaks. I didn't get the breaks. I think about that Eeyore cloud, it was kind of like, it just followed me, like, oh my gosh, why did this go wrong for me? Why did that go wrong for me? I really am trying. And I really did. I tried to be this good person. I really wanted to be a good person. But, I finally was able to concede to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic. And I remember the person I first revealed this to, and I said, do you think I am? And they said, well, it's up. It's really something you have to decide, And I finally had to come to grips with who I was, face myself, face the way I'd lived my life. And then these lines, over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. It wasn't getting better. I can tell you, I haven't had a drink in over 11 years. My life is a lot better. I am not the same person that came into these meetings. I'm sitting here and I've learned what humility is. Humility says, I'm no worse than you and I'm no better than you. I can sit here and not wonder, I'd love to tell you I'm completely free of this. I'm not going to sit here and wonder, are you giving me the A+? Because see, that's what I always went for. I'm going to reveal something that's so insane. I graduated as an undergraduate with a 4.0. I had professors who pulled me in. I had a group of professors who pulled me into their office and said, look, there's something wrong here. And I thought, what's your problem? I was arguing for 2 points when I had a 98. I saw nothing wrong with that. They did. They were worried about me. We've tried every imaginable remedy and been able to have brief recovery. I have gone through periods of time when I've done, all those things that go in that next paragraph about, all the different, I've done my own set of things, trying to stay away, trying to keep myself away from drugs, alcohol, food, relationships. I could stuff this all inside me and it never made me feel better. I could get some numbness, some sedation from the pain, but I didn't feel better. And when it was gone, I felt worse. There were more relationships. I'm telling you, I always thought that I was just what you call socially awkward, that because I wasn't good enough, you didn't really like me because there was something wrong with me. But ultimately, you weren't very nice because you didn't understand what a good person I was. It's crazy, convoluted thinking. But my relationships were not good. They were not good. And one of the reasons is because I wanted you to tell me I was okay all the time. What's wrong with me? Can't you love me? Can't you love me the way? Yet the thing was, I never understood. I had to love me before you could love me. I had to accept me before you could accept me. When I gave out appropriate responses to people, they gave me back appropriate responses. I didn't know how to do it. Let's see. There was a line in here I wanted. Oh, here's one of the lines. So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede our relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. The mental state. For me, that's where my alcoholism is. I am bodily different, yes, but it is that thinking that leads me to the drug or the drink or the activity or the whatever. But it is my mental state. It's the way I think. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experience for that first drink? Well, let's see. Self-seeking, self-will, and the biggie, pride. Those are the things that lead me back to some substance or what I'm looking for as relief. Rationalization and denial. That's the other. After I get those feelings and I rationalize and I deny that substance, that experience will not harm me, I can convince myself it's going to be okay. No biggie. Just like Jim, with that little bit of, he was feeling pretty good. He had the sandwich and milk. It was a pretty good feeling. He was doing okay. He kind of calmed down after, he was a little upset. But wouldn't it be just a little bit better? Just a little bit. Not a big deal here. So he rationalized and convinced himself there was going to be a good feeling. It was going to have a good outcome. And then we go to, for me, that's that scary, slippery slope. I have to guard against that. Even today, I can start to think that way. I can tell myself, wow, this is a tough situation. This is not going well. I'm not in control. That's the other thing. I wanted to be in control of me and you and everything around me. So what did I become? A teacher. I was a good teacher. My kids knew what to do when they came into my classroom. They knew what to expect. And I made sure that everybody, was under my watch. I really was. I mean, it was a perfect career for me, except it set me up so that I went out and people would say, don't talk to me in that teacher voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You need to sit down now. You really need to finish that. My poor daughter lived, she still loves me. I don't know how. I'm so nice. How could you not like that? I'm only taking care of you. So let's see. Not to belabor it, but that total insanity. I would have told you that I was the sane one. I was the one who, like I say, I married alcoholics, so, it made, you can play off so well against somebody that's not healthy. That was a perfect setup for me. The poor men, they needed my help, but they needed to be taken care of. They needed me. They needed me so badly that I drove them crazy and they left. I just had this nervous personality, anxiety, nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, oh my gosh, my first husband. I had to be very vigilant because he might stray. I had to keep control, I had to watch him very carefully. He didn't know, how to have a good relationship. I needed to show him how to have a good... The man was crazy. He was sick. He had an alcoholism. He'd grown up in a crazy home. I was going to turn him into a Wall Street man. The second time we went out, I said, I'm going to do this better. So I found a man who had an education. And, then I was going to remake him. I was so good at fixing things. I was the fixer, except for myself, and it always felt so good when I helped somebody else. Let's see. It just, things I have circled here, is strangely insane. It's a strong language, but isn't it true? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very true. And the unmanageability, that's, I just can't tell you. I will finish by telling you, it's so hard not to talk about the next step, which is where our solution is. Because I don't want to leave it that my life is still back here. But I'll tell you very clearly how different my life is. A year ago, there had been a terrible schism between myself and my other family members, to the extent that I had been shut off from my parents. Was it justified? I won't go into that. But I'm telling you, that's how bad things were. Last spring, I got down on my knees and I completely turned this situation over to God. And I said, God, I'm done. I have wrangled with this. I have tried to figure out how to fix this. Within 4 weeks, I got a call from my brother who said, we're going to have to place our parents into some facility. They've been living with my sister. Things are not going well. And I could have easily said, well, how are you going to handle that? Because they had pushed me out so far. Instead, I said, if they would like to, they can come and live with me. My parents are living with me today. My siblings are somewhat in my life. I'm very, very cautious about this because, again, I know where I can go with this. But that wasn't me working. That was God, because I finally gave it over to God. And I'm sitting here and telling you this because I couldn't have made that happen. I couldn't have explained it away, excused it away, whatever. I couldn't. There is a solution here. Those of you who are either visiting, checking us out, not quite into the process or are into the process, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I have so far to go. But I have found something that I never had in my life before. And I really get true relief, which I never, ever could find in any other way, no matter what I tried. And I tried hard. So I just encourage you to keep seeking and finding what is available here. Thank you.